Now on the Locked On Celtics podcast, Jayson Tatum is practicing again. This is huge.
Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Where is your team every day? Your team is the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts when they play in the weekend, which they don't do for a little bit because of the All-Star break coming up. But when they get back to it, I will be there for you. Podcast is free and available everywhere. It's on YouTube. Watch the show there. Get into the comment section. Share your thoughts with me. If you're new to the show, I am John Karalis. I'm a beat writer covering the Celtics for Sports Illustrated's Celtics On SI. Go check out my written work at Celtics On SI. I've been covering the team for about 20 years, doing this podcast for 10, and I've written a couple of books about the team as well. Later on, I will get to 3 distinct different topics today. Later on, I have a question about the Celtics tax situation. It's something I think that we need to clear up. There's a lot going on out there about what the Celtics plan to do. I'll clear all that up in the third segment. Second segment will be about Nikola Vucevic. Should he start? What should the lineup, the rotation be? We'll do that in the second segment. But I got to start with Jayson Tatum back on the practice floor. Shocking. The Celtics announced in the middle of the day on Monday that, by the way, Jayson Tatum has been assigned to the Maine Celtics. They will come to the practice facility, and we're going to assign Amari Williams and Hugo Gonzalez, and they're all going to practice together. Now, wait a second. That sounds familiar. Where have I heard that exact scenario brought up before? Getting out there, it's going to be like Amari Williams and, Ron Harper Jr. and Max Shulga. You might even see Jayson Tatum has been assigned to the Maine Celtics for today's practice. And what that means is the Maine Celtics, on whatever, off day they have, are all going to come down to Boston, and he'll scrimmage with them at the facility. That's happened before. Oh, that was me saying that yesterday in the podcast after the game that very few people listen to because of the Super Bowl. Sorry, Patriots. I was really rooting for you. That was side note. That was ugly. Patriots haters, hey, you got what you wanted. Patriots fans, sorry. Hey, but listen, I'd rather lose like that a million times out of a million. You just got your butts kicked by a better team, and that happens. All right, so anyway, you probably didn't hear that because not a lot of people listen to or watch that podcast, but I did lay out this exact scenario yesterday because Shams Charania had said that before the Knicks game that Tatum was scrimmaging with coaches, and now the next step would be to live scrimmage, or at least controlled. I think what this was, because the way the Celtics phrased it was he was assigned to the Maine Celtics to participate in portions of the practice. So I don't think this was unscripted 5-on-5. I don't think this was full-on scrimmage. I think this was a little bit more controlled, but with the defense. And if you've listened recently, Tyrese Halliburton was on the Mind the Game podcast with LeBron, and I think Steve Nash is doing it now. And he was talking to LeBron, and he was mentioning how he was going through similar type scrimmages, right, with all the low minute guys. And Benedict Mathurin, who's since been traded, but he was playing Mathurin, and Mathurin hit him with a hesitation move and pulled up for 3, and they said, no, go at him. And he said, no, his leg. And Halliburton was like, no, I want to see where I am. And then he told the story about, well, Mathurin just dusted him, hesitated, dusted him, was at the rim, and he goes, I was still at the 3-point line, and that showed me how far you still had to go. I think Tatum is in that mode, that part of his rehab where let's see what happens. Let's see if, Max Shulga can dust you at the 3-point line and get to the rim while you're just still standing there flat-footed. The controlled elements of this rehab, I think, have been mostly accomplished. And now it's, can the brain send the messages to the feet, and can the feet execute the messages that the brain is sending? And can you do that against people that maybe it's a little bit more unpredictable, even though it's scripted? Hey, you're going to go at them. You're going to try to pull a move. Jayson, you're going to defend. Like, it's not random scrimmaging, I don't think. that next step is straight 5-on-5 scrimmaging, practicing with the team, and just getting out there and getting the full-on 5-on-5. Let's go out there. Let's get at it. The one element that Shams Charania did mention in his report was Jayson Tatum wants to come back as Jayson Tatum, not a percentage of Jayson Tatum. He wants to come back to as close to 100% of Jayson Tatum. And that's going to be difficult because you're just never going to know how close you are. But it's that feeling of, okay, I feel like I'm 100%. Then he'll come out there and he'll play, which I would anticipate whenever he does play, it's going to be under a strict minutes restriction. So at first he might even come off the bench. It might be a 7-minute stint, a 5-minute, 3 5-minute stints, 2 7-minute stints, something like that. And then you just kind of go from there. It's really going to be throw him out there, come back. How did you feel? I don't know if you do more imaging, but you want to go take a look at it and see, are there any hot spots showing up or whatever? You might want to do a little bit of imaging. They have the facilities to do it, so why not? Go take a look, see what's going on. Be super, super careful. And then give them a day or 2 off and then let's get back at it. So it's not going to be just, I think, full immersion. But this first step with the Maine Celtics is a big deal. He is getting close. This is my original, and I didn't want to go too far back. One victory lap is already enough for me today. I'll go back and find where I said March. I expected him to come back in March, even though I thought maybe this Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday game against the Knicks would have been a great kind of just, you hurt yourself against the Knicks, come back against the Knicks would have made a lot of sense, but he's getting close. And my original prediction was early March, and it seems like he might be on track for that. I feel like this is perfect timing. This is exactly what we want him to do, what I've wanted him to do. Work your way back, get your mental right, get your physical right, come back, shake off the rust, figure it out. Figure out how do you work with Vucevic? How do you work with the new and improved Neemias Queta? How do you work with some of these other guys? Jordan Walsh on the floor with a little bit more opportunity, Hugo Gonzalez, who you've never played with before, all of that. This is important stuff. We know that the Celtics are good now, but we know that their goal is going to be the championship next season. I don't want to downplay what the Celtics are doing right now, but everything this season is gravy to me. And don't have to mess with let's see what kind of run they can make. Let's see what they can do. Maybe optimistic view. They're there. They're the 2nd seed or 3rd seed, however you want to look at it. They have a chance. So, all right, let's go. Let's see what you got. But if anything they accomplish this year, up to and including a championship, is actually bonus, because the whole plan was get Tatum right for next year, get the lineups right for next year, get the money right for next year, which is going to be our 2nd and 3rd segments of this podcast anyway, and all of that. So I feel like this is perfect timing. So Tatum goes through the practice. Celtics are practicing on Tuesday, so we'll get an update. How did he look? How did he feel? I don't know if we're going to talk to Jayson Tatum, but we'll get at least a little bit of a sense. I'll get to talk to some people around the team that maybe can give me a little bit of a glimpse into how it went. So just great news. I think everything is actually progressing the way it should. This is Tatum on track to come back this year. All that stuff, all that self-doubt stuff, understandable. I think that creeps in. That's a natural part of it all. I think he's very clearly progressing and will return this year. So we'll see. But great news there. All right. Up next, Vucevic is here. Nikola Vucevic is here. What should he do? Should he start? He's coming off the bench now. Is that how it should go? I did a very detailed breakdown on Sports Illustrated. I'm going to, we'll talk about that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by ZocDoc. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like finding a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want somebody who's in network, nearby, who has an availability, but you also want a doctor who listens and makes you feel comfortable and explains things clearly. Impossible! Haha, not with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering over 200 specialties from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. I've definitely put off doctor's appointments. We all have. Between work, life, everything else, it's very easy to delay. ZocDoc makes it simple. You can search by specialty, symptoms, and you actually build a care team that works for you. You can also read verified patient reviews, very important, so you feel confident choosing a doctor that you will actually like. And whether you want to go in person or make it a video visit, ZocDoc makes it easy. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this podcast. Today's show is also brought to you by Wayfair. It's a new year. It's a perfect time to reset your routine, refresh your space, and you're spending more time inside. It's cold. You don't want to go anywhere. You might as well love where you're sitting, how your place looks. That's why you need to go to Wayfair, one stop to get your house, your home back on track. You want bedding, you want mattresses, you want storage solutions. It's all right there at Wayfair. So if you need a full home refresh or you're just updating a living room, organizing some space at an office, maybe upgrading your work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what you're looking for. It works for your style. It works for your budget. I know because my wife and I have spent a few bucks over at Wayfair, but I know we've saved a lot by going to Wayfair. It's very easy. We figured out things that we share links back and forth, couch, some shades, some drapes, some whatever. We've gotten a lot of different things, outdoor stuff. It's very easy. Delivery is smooth. Everything comes exactly as expected. So very easy to get organized, refreshed, back on track for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. You are an everydayer, joining me every Monday through Friday. Now join the Everydayer Club. It's at LockedOnCeltics.supercast.com, LockedOnCeltics.supercast.com. If you're watching the show and you have like another couple of hours before the calendar flips, it's still February 9th. You can still use the code Vucevic, VUCEVIC, to get a free month. LockedOnCeltics.supercast.com. You get ad-free audio. You get access to our Discord server, chat, Celtics and national discussions, all there. Check it out. Drop the link in the show notes. Okay, since we're using the code Vucevic, on Celtics on SI, I did a very detailed breakdown of the Celtics lineup situation and trying to get to the heart of who should start now that the trade between Chicago and Boston has happened. We've seen a couple of Vooch off the bench games. Is that how it should go? So the way I approached it was you kind of match point guard and center, and it's almost like pitcher and catcher in baseball. If you're trying to figure out what center kind of accentuates the point guard and his strengths. So we start with the Celtics really have two ball handlers, Derrick White and Payton Pritchard. So right away we know that Derrick White is starting, Pritchard has gone to the bench because they're the only two ball handlers the Celtics have. And they have a ton of wings and they have now three bigs. But the two ball handlers primarily are White and Pritchard. So you know White is going to start. You know Pritchard is going to come off the bench. So who matches up best? Whoever matches up best with Derrick White should start. Whoever matches up best with Payton Pritchard should come off the bench with Payton Pritchard. And it's not a knock on either guy. This is absolutely not a knock. I'm not going to get into this guy should start because he's better or not. That's not what this is. This is what makes the most sense for this team. And because Pritchard is coming off the bench and Derrick White is starting, who fits best with Derrick White? What is Derrick White as a player? He's a very read-based, cerebral. He's a smart player. Not that Pritchard isn't, but Pritchard is a smart player too. But Derrick is just phenomenal, thinks the game faster than most people, processes the game faster than most people, just insane processing speed, ability to make reads like crazy. And I want to give him options, more options. The more options for him, the better. And also I want to give him space. Pritchard is the better driver. Pritchard drives 12 times a game. Derrick drives a little less than 8 times per game. Pritchard is the better ball handler. He can just get low, keep that dribble alive. You could probably have that Seahawks defense tackle him, and somehow underneath the pile, he'd be still dribbling the basketball. That's Pritchard's kind of superpower. He's got that incredible handle, and he can just get into the paint. He loves to operate 5 to 10 feet from the rim in that paint area. And who accentuates that, and who accentuates Derrick White and how he drives, what he's looking for when he drives, and what he's looking to do on the floor. So I've settled on, I think Vucevic, I'm going to get that, like, you've spent so many times saying it one way. I think Vooch should pair with Derrick White, and I think Queta should pair with Payton Pritchard, especially because Queta and Pritchard have a season-long chemistry. I don't want to put an unfamiliar guy with Pritchard in that setting, because Pritchard needs to know where his outlet is. He's going to get in there. He's going to get into the teeth of the defense. Queta has done an incredibly good job of learning the pick and roll, executing the pick and roll, executing short roll, operating in the dunker spot, navigating, relocating along the baseline. All of the things that I didn't think he could do last year, he's done all of them. Super impressed with how he's come about, how he's progressed. So I think he's perfect for a guy like Pritchard, because they almost operate in like tandem. Pritchard goes this way, and Queta knows where to go and how to move, and it just works perfectly. I want to keep that together. Plus, I think that defensive presence on the second unit is going to be important. You're playing with some lesser players. You need a little bit of a shot blocker there. And if, you could always sub Queta in early. You could always finish with Queta. Just because I'm saying he starts on the bench doesn't mean he doesn't finish games. You can use him in the final 3 minutes if you need a rim protector, if you're trying to protect the lead. Absolutely finish with Queta. That is totally fine. But I want to pair him with Pritchard as much as possible. Vooch with Derrick White. Vooch in his introductory press conference said, this is a read-based offense, which is kind of my strength. He likes to read things, pick and pop, pick and roll. He's a good passer too. He can short roll. It just gives Derrick that extra dimension, and that pick and pop ability allows for cleaner drives for Derrick White, because now that big, you can just take a little bit of traffic out of the lane. And that's, I think, Queta, because he doesn't space, when he's on the floor with Derrick White, crowds the lane a little too much. With Vooch, I think that will just take a player, just one big body away from the paint. It will just open things up for Derrick to be a little bit more of a finisher, to rely a little less on the floater, which is a great shot for him. He's great with the floater, but get to the rim maybe a little bit more, and then collapse the defense, and then maybe make some extra passes over there. Another spacer, and also another passer with that offense. So while people are worried about Derrick and what Derrick and Vooch are doing, somebody else can be cutting back door. Maybe you get Jaylen a couple of easy ones that way as well. So I just think a guy that can clear out, and it gives Jaylen space to drive as well. A guy who can clear out of the lane for two guys who could use that extra space is better, and Pritchard kind of operates well in tight spots. So I think Queta going to pair with Pritchard is the move. So starting, it's Derrick, Vooch, Jaylen. I want shooting, so I want Sam. I want rebounding. Baylor Shireman has been an incredible rebounder. He had 13 rebounds against the Knicks. He's been just boarding like crazy. So I like that. And then you can easily, whenever Tatum does come back, slide him into, maybe Baylor goes to the bench and slide Tatum into that. And that now becomes Derrick, Jaylen, Jayson, Sam, and Vooch. Love it. I think that's a great starting lineup. And then off the bench, you have Pritchard, Queta, and then Ugo or Jordan or Baylor whenever Tatum comes back. I just like the way that flows. That's a great 8-man rotation. Now, you notice I haven't mentioned Luka Garza here. I don't think the double big works, and this sucks for Luka Garza because I like what he has done. I think there are situational times where you could go double big, right? I don't have any problems yanking Shireman out of the starting lineup and starting Garza if you need to. So you could situationally go double big. You could, if, depending on foul trouble, go to Garza. You could say, hey, we're missing a lot of shots. We're shooting 17%. Again, we need a rebounder, an offensive rebounder out there. And you just send Vooch to the bench and say that's how it's going to be, man. He's like, I like Vucevic. He's a good player, but he's still, nothing's made him like untouchable out there. So if you need to, if he's not offensive rebounding, you need an offensive rebounder, sit him down, put Garza in. But I just think Garza is going to be a little bit more situational. And as I've said before, I think ultimately when the things do settle, I do think Garza might be a little bit of an odd man out. I think Garza's probably going to be a little bit more of an NBA journeyman. But I want to be very clear. I have a ton of respect for Garza. I think the work that he's put in has been great. I just think he's just a very specific type of player. And there will be teams out there that need that very specific type of player. And he can go and he can make a few $1 million in the NBA. Like, I think he's an NBA player and he's proven that. So I don't know how this shakes out. I really don't know. And when we come back, I'll talk about a little bit of the financial stuff. But right now, I just think the combinations without Garza make the most sense for the Celtics, and Garza can be used situationally. So I think those are the lineups. You're starting Derrick, Vooch, Jaylen, Sam, and right now Baylor. Tatum, obviously, when he comes back at some point. And then with Payton and Queta off the bench, I think that's just a great combination. I love the chemistry between those two. And if you want to finish with Queta, fine. You want to finish double big, fine. You can do that. Any combination of those bigs, that's also fine. So that's where I've settled on the Vooch starting situation. We'll see how that goes. Up next, I answer a viewer question, a listener question, because I think there's a little bit of a misconception about what the Celtics might be trying to do, what they're able to do after all the tax stuff. We'll talk about that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. I know it can, but it doesn't have to because TurboTax is making it easier than ever. You just hand things off and move on with your day. It's beautiful. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress and without the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out which forms to fill out, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything. W-2s, self-employed forms. They get you every deduction possible. You can upload your documents and go about your day and get updates right from the TurboTax app. Huge time saver and peace of mind. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. You've only got about less than 20 days. So take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Thank you for making this the number one Celtics podcast in the world on the number one sports podcast network in the world. It's thanks to you, the everydayer, joining me Monday through Friday. Thanks to everybody who's come up to me and said hi at these games. It's been great to meet people. Always love hearing people call out my name. It's just an absolute thrill. If you want to go check out, if you're trying to get past the Super Bowl hangover, you want to see what happened, Locked On Patriots. If you're celebrating with the Seahawks, Locked On Seahawks has you covered. Locked On NFL has full breakdowns over there, so go check those podcasts out. So the Celtics trade deadline got under the tax. There's a whole big thing. There's reactions that I don't even care to get into about what the Celtics are trying to do. And it did get a mailbag question in. I just want to focus on this one, and it comes from Jesse T, who said, my concern with the Celtics getting under the luxury tax is not this year, but next year. It takes 2 years to get out of the repeater tax. I hope the Celtics aren't going to waste next year with JT and JB just to get out of the repeater tax. If you want to get your questions in, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. I will be doing a full mailbag podcast one day this week, and I'll do another one next week. So johnkaralis.com/mailbag. I'm also going to be answering them on the Celtics On SI page. So check that out. I will let you know when I drop one so you can go check that out so you know when to read it, because I just want to get to, there's so many questions coming in. That extra outlet's going to help me out a lot. So the question about ducking the tax next year. I don't think the Celtics went into the trade deadline saying, oh my God, we got to get under the tax. I know they did. And when I say they got under the tax, they just barely got under the tax. They're $800,000 or so under the tax, and they still have to fill roster spots. So they are threading the finest needle. It's just the teensiest, tiniest bit that they're trying to thread. They're going to do it, and that's great. But that is helpful in, sure, Bill Chisholm gets to save a little bit of money. Okay, fine. No one cares about rich people saving money when you're talking about your sports team. I get it. But more importantly, you have a payment. Non-tax teams get payments from the taxpayers, which you could turn around and go spend next year. Most importantly, the Celtics are under the first apron, and far enough under the first apron where they can do some deals here. I want to put up this graphic here. This comes from Keith Smith. This is very complicated. I'm going to leave it up there for a second. But just because I just want to say that when the Celtics are under the first apron, no trade restrictions, no buyout restrictions. And when we say no trade restrictions, this is just for the YouTube folks, but I'm reading it for the people listening. Over the first apron, you cannot do things like use more than your the tax mid-level exception. You can't acquire a player via sign and trade. You can't sign a buyout player who made more than the non-taxpayer mid-level. You can't use more than 100% salary matching in a trade. You can't use a TPE created in the prior season. That's all what happens over the first apron. Well, guess what the Celtics have? A TPE created in the prior season, $27.7 million. What they have is the ability to go send out players that can match more than 100%. You can take in more than 100% money in a trade. So they've had up until, and Brad Stevens specifically said this, they've had to take less back in a trade because of where they were over the aprons. So yeah, the tax is they got under the tax, and that's fine. I would be shocked if the Celtics specifically made moves to get under the tax next year. Now, this is going to be a little bit of nuance because they could make moves and still be under the tax. They could try to make moves that don't come through and end up under the tax. And if that's how it is, that's how it is. What I don't want is for the Celtics to end up under the tax next year and people will be like, see, they did it. They're going to make moves to win next year. I cannot say this any more clearly. the Boston Celtics are going to make moves this summer in an effort to win next season. They want a championship. They get Jayson Tatum back. They get Jaylen Brown at his absolute peak. They're going to try to accentuate that. How does that look? I don't know yet. Does Nikola Vucevic stick around? I don't know yet. He's not going to be making what's he making this year? 21 million. That's it. Like that Vooch number is going to go 21.5 million. He's an unrestricted free agent. You can go out on the open market. Who's paying Vooch at 35? What's his value in the open market? No one is giving him more than the taxpayer mid-level, right? No one is giving him more than that. Is anybody going to spend? I just put up the graphic here. Using more than the using more than the tax mid-level exception hard caps you at the first apron. You cannot be over the first apron and do that. So any team that might say, hey, we're one big away, a stretch big away, let's throw 6 million, 7 million at Vooch. Now you're putting yourself in a tough spot. He's not the guy to do that for. So I think the max that he's going to go find on the open market is the non-tax mid-level, which is going to be like $5 million. That's my, so I wouldn't expect the Celtics to pay him any more than that. That I think is the absolute max that he's going to get. Now he's going to be 36 next year. So is that the guy you want to rely on? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. He could be a useful piece, but he becomes like Al Horford territory. They have $27.7 million in a trade exception that they can use. They have, if they needed it, they have Derrick White. They have Payton Pritchard. They have Sam Hauser. They have guys that they can turn around and move that make money if the right player is available. I'm not saying that they will actively try to do that, but if that's how it goes, you can now take back more money. And if you use your $27.7 million trade exception to bring in a player and a more expensive player comes up that is available somehow, and packaging a couple of these other guys up is the smart way to go, the Celtics will be looking to make these moves. I'm not saying, I want to be clear, they are not actively going to be shopping any of these guys, but they are going to be open to whatever moves are there. They are not going to be cheap. They are not going to say, oh, we can't spend up until, we can't spend into the tax because we want to save some money. No, I think if anything, the Celtics will be hard capped at the first apron. I think that's going to be where they end up because they're going to start using some of these tools that are available. The first apron in next season will be $210 million. Next season, they will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys under contract guaranteed. So they got to fill a few roster spots. They'll be at $111 million or so with the guys that they have guaranteed. You pick up some team options. You pick up Baylor, you pick up Queta, you pick up Walsh. That fills out. That's a nice way to fill out the end of the roster. You have plenty of space. You have plenty of room between $115, $120 million to $210 million. You have a lot of room to get to that line. So you can start taking back more money. You can use your full mid-level. You can find a guy on the free agent market and give him your full mid-level. Now you got full mid-level, $15 million you can give somebody. You got a $27.7 million that you can give in a trade exception. You have tradable players on the team. You can be aggressive in putting a championship level team together and not worry about the tax. You worry about the tax when Tatum and Brown are done. So they've saved enough money. Now they've saved enough money. They are players this summer. So to answer that question, Jesse, do not worry. Do not worry. And if I'm somehow wrong about this, I will be the first person leading the charge, calling Bill Chisholm cheap and all of that stuff. I do not think that's what this is. I do not think that's what this trade deadline was. I think it was more about getting under the first apron, gaining that flexibility. And hey, it just ended up like, hey, we have an opportunity to get under the tax here. Let's just do it. You traded away Tillman. You traded away Minot and Chris Boucher. They weren't playing. What's the difference? Trade them away. You upgrade Amari Williams. He's a guy that's been playing. Give him a look. You're going to maybe upgrade Ron Harper, or maybe you bring somebody else in. You've got you using those spots with guys who are playing. So that makes more sense. I'm not looking at this as a cheap tax dodging, ducking team. They got themselves into a spot where they can start spending money now. It's not even ducking the repeater tax. I don't think you have to wait one more year and get under the tax. If they do, then that just supercharges it for sure moving forward. But I think they can start spending in the summer of 2026 and build whatever they think a championship team is going to be for next season. This season, all gravy, go nuts. Hopefully this breaks right for the Celtics and they make a deep run. Next season is the team they're building specifically to win a championship. All right, practice is on Tuesday. We'll see if anything comes out of practice. If for some reason it's quiet, then I'll do my mailbag episode, or I'll bring Tom Westerholm in and we'll talk about, I don't know, we'll figure something else. Probably talk about more Tatum. But whatever the show is tomorrow will be determined at practice. So I will be at practice. I'll be asking the questions. I'll be digging to see what we can find out. So I hope you subscribe. I hope you watch the show on YouTube. Subscribe there as well. Love to see you in the comment section. And then I would love to see you share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.